That's why I'm suggesting that you take advantage of what we think are some very good offers for football right now. You save a lot of money, and you put your game plan in motion to actually have a successful season. My preseason NFL is $25. You're going to get all my action plays, including my preseason game of the year. That's 4 full weeks of preseason, and it's $25 if you call now. And one quick note on the preseason. Wow. You talk about profits. I've said this many times. I don't think there's a better sport to bet at any time than the National Football League preseason. It's incredible. And not because there's anything magical about me. It's not like this isn't really, to be honest with you, it's not really special knowledge. It's not even handicapping in a sense. It's just gathering information and putting it to good use. It's the only time of the year where coaches give away their game plans. They tell you who's going to be on the field. They tell you what they're going to try and do. We've had coaches over the years who say, I don't really care about this game, or I'm going to try and win. It's once in a while, every year, I will see some, the talking heads and TV guys. I don't know, anybody can bet this stuff. Games don't even count. Dude, you don't know shit. Sorry. But I don't know how else to put it. There's no better time of the year for me than the NFL preseason, especially after the first week. So $25, to me, it's the absolute no-brainer of the year. 1-866-841-1665. Sign up now. And if you call today, by the way, we'll give you a baseball game on the house just to kind of get you a little something in your pocket in the meantime. Jim also has a tremendous early bird offer. John, tell us about that.
Yeah, there's soft lines all over the board in August, preseason football, best time of the sports betting calendar. If you want to get in, Jim has an early bird special. You can get all of Jim Feist's plays for the entire preseason for $29. That's going to include his preseason game of the year. So you get 4 weeks of action for $29. But you have to sign up before August 1st. 1-866-841-1655.
All right, let's get into the previews. Last year.
Well, no, we got Jeff. Jeff said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jesus, what am I thinking about? I'm getting ahead of myself. And Jeff, you basically, we were talking every week about the how well you did in the NBA playoffs. Basically, you did the same thing in the NFL preseason last year.
Yeah, I was 19-10, 66% in the preseason last year. Also, I won my game of the year. I've won my preseason games of the year 5 of the last 6 years. So this year, I'm going to give you the entire preseason, all my 5-star winners in the preseason, and it's all going to be $19, and you're going to get the game of the year with that also. Just call 1-866-575-8918. You get the entire NFL preseason, including my game of the year, $19. 1-866-575-8918.
Well, last year was a crazy season in the Big Ten. They had their first ever Big Ten title game, and that was an unbelievable football game. I mean, that was a great game between Wisconsin and Michigan State. Wisconsin ended up going to the Rose Bowl, got beat by Oregon in another thrilling game, 45-38. In that football game, it was also an unhappy season in the Big Ten as the scandal at State College hit the we don't even have to go into that. Let's just say it was a disaster at Penn State last year, and obviously that hurt the entire conference in terms of just the overall spectrum, I guess you could say. Disastrous season, to put it mildly. That's out of the Penn State thing continues, and I don't know what the fallout of that's going to be in terms of that school's future in football, or in the Big Ten for that matter. It's been a huge embarrassment for the school in the conference. Let's look at the teams, and we're gonna do half of them because we don't want to keep you here for like an hour. So we're going to do about half the teams today, and then we'll get the other half next week. And let's start off, Jeff. You're a Michigan guy, aren't you? Or are you?
Ohio, Michigan. I grew up about 40 miles south of the Michigan state line in Ohio, but I'm a Detroit fan. So.
Okay, so which school?
But I have family that went to Ohio State, and I have some of the family that went to Michigan. I'm right in the middle.
Does that mean?
So it's really
well. We're going to talk Michigan State first, but do you have it? I mean, who roots for Michigan State?
I grew up leaning toward Ohio State. When I moved away, I kind of lost interest. I remained a Detroit fan, but as far as the colleges, I can go. I tend to root for Ohio State when they play Michigan. When I grew up, I couldn't stand Bush and Beckler, and that's the reason why I rooted for Ohio State. Woody Hayes is no prize either, but that's the reason why I rooted for Ohio State. But right now, there's really, as far as the rooting interest as a fan, it's about even. Right now, I'm mostly concerned about handicapping.
Well, one team that
but Michigan State,
Michigan State was good last year. I mean, 11-3, won their bowl game, a thriller against Georgia. They're off a really good season.
Yeah, and they had 13 starters returning, 8 on defense, including all 3 linebackers. Johnny Adams returns the quarterback. He's a 2-time All-Big Ten. Offense is going to be the question mark. Kirk Cousins is gone, of course, but it's this like junior Andrew Maxwell is going to be the quarterback. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He didn't even play much in the spring game because he was injured. Last year they were 11th in rushing in the conference. That should be better, though, because all four starters returned from the offensive line, and Le'Veon Bell is back at running back. They lost a lot at wide receiver, but they had a pretty good recruiting year. They bring in Aaron Burbridge and Monty Medeiros, and also redshirt freshman Andre Sims joins the team. This year they opened up against Boise State. That should be interesting. Last year they started out with a lackluster win over Youngstown State, 28-6, and then played Florida Atlantic. This year they start off with a tough game right away with Boise State. They get Notre Dame and Ohio State at home, but in October they have back-to-back weeks where they have to go to Michigan and Wisconsin. So I'm looking at a team that will probably, I'll predict 9-3 season here, and once again they'll be contenders in the Big Ten.
Well, Ohio State, obviously, it couldn't get much. We didn't even mention that at the top. I mean, how embarrassing was Ohio State last year with all their tumult off the field and then a losing season on the field? It was a mess. That's done. Now, they can't be in a bowl game this year. But if you think Ohio State's going to be 6-7 again and 3-5 in the Big Ten, think again. Urban Meyer's there, and he's got a lot of experience. And I think from day one, you're going to see a much more focused team. I don't think the Buckeyes could be focused last year with all that was going on. And it obviously contributed. Lame duck coaching staff as far as the top was concerned. We knew he wasn't going to be back as the head coach. It was just a joke of a season for this team. They've got 19 starters back. 9 on offense, 10 on defense. I think Braxton Miller I don't know if he's ever going to be a good passer. So I don't even know if he'll be the starting quarterback for the entire duration of his career at Ohio State. Clearly, Urban Meyer is going to recruit some star players, and one of them might be a quarterback. But Miller's still a weapon. There's no question about that. So, I think they'll be better throwing the ball than they were last year. They were almost the worst. They were arguably as bad as it gets of throwing the ball last year. I think they ended up 117th out of 120. And Miller, I don't like anything about the way he throws the ball. Of course, I said that about Tim Tebow, too, and he's in the NFL now, so you never know. But this guy can run, and he can throw in spots. So if the play calling is good, he can complete some passes. He actually can complete some long passes, and he can put up some better numbers. The team's going to run the football. I guarantee you this team's going to run the football. Now, last year they ran for almost 200 yards per game. They will top that this year. Ohio State, I believe, will run. I wouldn't be surprised if they run for 230, 240 a game this year. I think they're going to be a heavy focus on the running game, and I think they've got the right personnel to do it. They've got the entire defensive backfield back, and that was a strength last year anyway. I like this football team. I think Ohio State, I'm not saying you're going to get any bargains on them because I think the mere presence of Urban Meyer is going to impact the spread. And I think people know that, the bettors aren't dumb. Not as dumb as they used to be, let's put it that way. And I think bettors understand that last year was a complete aberration with what was going on off the field. So I can't really say that you're going to just be able to walk up to the window and catch tickets on Ohio State because they're going to be hugely undervalued. But I do think they're going to get off to a good start. Miami of Ohio, Central Florida, Cal, UAB, that should be 4-0 out of the gate. And a lot of momentum for Urban Meyer. So even with no bowl game out there this year, I think you're going to see a very motivated team. Remember last year, USC couldn't go to a bowl game. Didn't matter with them. They were crushing teams in a lot of situations. You're going to see the same thing out of Ohio State. I think this team will be not only a big winner on the field, John, I think they're going to be a regular ticket casher at the betting windows as well. How about Wisconsin? Now, they've lost a lot of people from last year's squad. They were obviously a very good football team last year. Can they be as strong this year? Brett Bielema is going to break in a lot of new parts.
Yeah, they have about half of the supreme talents that they had from last season. They're a bit of an enigma this season because it really starts with the quarterback position. You got 5 starters back on offense for Wisconsin, 6 on a very strong and underrated defense. But the quarterback play is really the big question mark. They had dynamic quarterback Russell Wilson last year. He was only there one season, the transfer from MC State, just dynamic player. But he's gone, and so it's a mixed bag right now with 3 guys that we don't know much about. Sophomore quarterback Joe Brennan, he threw for 48 yards last year. He's in the mix. And then there's Joel Stave. And they also have quarterback Danny O'Brien. He's a transfer. You may remember him from the University of Maryland. He actually started 17 games over 2 seasons for the Terrapins. Wasn't that outstanding, but he has a lot of experience. So that's really the thing to watch with the Badgers. The good thing is while this passing game was so electric last year, and we don't know about it, it's the running game where they're really loaded, and the new quarterback is not going to have to carry the load. Terrific offensive line. One of the running backs is junior James White. Okay, he had 713 yards rushing last year in his back. That's very good. Well, that pales in comparison to his backfield mate, senior running back Monty Ball, 1,923 yards rushing, 6.3 yards per carry, 33 touchdowns, even chipped in 306 receiving yards. So this is an amazing, multi-talented player and an absolutely deadly Wisconsin backfield. Defense was actually very good last year. They got 6 starters back, only 19 points per game. That was 13th best in the nation. Front 7 is experienced and solid. It's the secondary that has some new faces. When you look at the schedule, it's actually a pretty decent schedule. They really have 2 tough road games. September 29th, they're playing at Nebraska. And then the finale, the regular season finale, will be at Penn State. And keep in mind that that's a revenge spot for the Nittany Lions. Wisconsin blew them out last year, 45-7. So Penn State has home field, plus they have the new coach. So that's going to be an emotional game for them. And keep in mind also, if you like to keep track of spread trends, Wisconsin at home has just been a dominant team. 51-5 straight up, 31-19 against the spread the last 8 years. So I'm not sure about the passing game, but everything else, the running game and the defense, should be very good. I see Wisconsin as definitely being in the running again.
Well, last year, Michigan, they hired Brady Hoke away from San Diego State, where he'd done a phenomenal job with the Aztecs, and it didn't take long for the presence of Brady Hoke to make a huge impact in Ann Arbor. What a good year the Wolverines had, Jeff. And, the future looks really bright for this program now.
Yeah, what a change from the Rich Rodriguez years. It was like day and night. They returned 15 starters. Offense should be potent again. Denard Robinson, back at quarterback. Fitz Toussaint is emerged as the top running back. Last year they changed the offense a little. They had Robinson running a little bit less, but the upside was he didn't get injured as much. That was the plan in the first place. So they're going to keep that offense, the little spread offense, and it's going to be more of a balanced offense than it was during Rodriguez when he had a spread offense but didn't have the type of athletes to really run it well. The defense was a big improvement last year. I mean, it was so much better, but they lost 3 starters on the defensive line. That's going to be a problem. The biggest obstacle could be the schedule here. They open versus Alabama. I mean, you can't get much tougher than that. That game's going to be played in Arlington, Texas. Then they go. They're at Notre Dame in the 4th game of the season, so they could have 2 losses by the time the conference season starts. They also have Nebraska and Ohio State on the road, but they get Michigan State and Iowa at home. It's going to be tough to improve from last year, I think, because I think they're looking at a 9-3 season overall, and just like Michigan State, they're going to be right in contention for the Big Ten title.
This shouldn't be chiseled in stone, and it's not, but it's certainly close to it. I have never been a fan. I don't mind if assistant coaches are out of their minds maniacal on the sidelines. It doesn't bother me. I don't like it when head coaches are like that. I think it shows a lack of poise, and I think that filters down to the team. And if you look around the college football landscape, most of these guys have been failures as head coaches, or at least they've worn out their welcome after a little bit. Levitt at South Florida, Mike Stoops at Arizona. These are guys, if you watch a football game, they are out of their minds on the sidelines. Bo Pelini fits that mold. And I don't think he's going to be a successful head coach at Nebraska. He's going to win games. But I don't think he's going to get this program back to where the Cornhusker Nation wants him to be. And part of it is, unless he tones down his act on the sidelines, you would think you're looking at a guy on drugs when you're watching a Nebraska game. I mean, he is crazy on the sidelines, and I just don't like that style. And I think we saw examples of it last year where he's beside himself on the sidelines, and we saw a team on the field that lacked poise. That, to me, is my biggest problem with Nebraska. It really is. I think it's going to impact them in some games again this season. There's some reasons for optimism here. The defense, which was very bad at times last year. I mean, Wisconsin put up almost a 50 spot on them. Michigan ran all over the place on them. South Carolina put up big numbers against them, and South Carolina didn't even have that good an offense. They do have 8 starters back, so you would think it's going to be okay. The offense, we know what the offense can do. When they're able to run the football, they're really dangerous. Burkhead's a good, really solid, tough running back. Knows how to get the ball in the end zone. Taylor Martinez, not the best thrower in the world, to put it mildly. And I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. I just don't think he's got a real good arm. But he's not a bad player, and can certainly get some things done when he's got the football. And they're going to be a good football team. But I don't think Nebraska is going to take that next step forward. And part of the reason is on the sidelines. I don't buy into that kind of coach. I also look at their schedule, and it's like, there's some spots here. They got to go to Ohio State. They got to go to Michigan State. They got to go to Iowa, which could be a pretty good football team. They got to go to UCLA, which I think is going to get better in a hurry. I don't know how good this year, but I think UCLA is heading in the right direction now. I look at Nebraska, and I see a team that's going to have kind of a similar season to last year. And I really think Nebraska is going to have a lot of those seasons. I don't think you're going to see this team get itself in a position where they become a dominant Big Ten team. If Bo Pelini can change his methodology, tone it down a little bit, become a head coach rather than a flustered cheerleader, I think Nebraska could do well. But that's my take on the Cornhuskers. And it will be something that factors into my handicapping, because I think in crunch time games where that type of decision making, and we're talking close perception of close games going in, where there's 3 and 4 point lines, I was going against Nebraska in situations like that, and I'm going to probably continue to go against them. I think it's going to manifest itself in them losing tough games. And the games I just mentioned on the road, I think they'll lose 2, maybe 3 of those games. I think Nebraska probably about an 8, maybe 9-win team. Good, solid squad, but not a super team. Iowa, I don't know how Iowa made a bowl game last year, John. I didn't think they were a very good football team to begin with. They really weren't. But you know what? They won their home games. Kirk Ferentz he's the opposite of Bo Pelini. This is a guy who gets the most out of his talent. I don't think he can match up on talent with most of the teams in the Big Ten, and yet they're very respectable every year, and occasionally they have that one team that can really stand out. And I think part of the reason is his ability to stay focused, cool, and calm, and be a real head coach. He's a guy I've always liked. I still think he'd make a good NFL head coach, but meanwhile, he's still in Iowa, and he's still going to win football games.
Oh, yeah, he's outstanding. And Ferentz has 7 starters back on offense for this fall. He's got 6 on defense. And the thing about Iowa last year, coming into last season, there were a lot of question marks. And it looked like they were a team that probably wouldn't be able to pass the football because there were so many new faces, so you expected them to run the ball a lot and have a rock-solid defense. Kind of the opposite of all that happened in 2011. Passing game was outstanding. The running game was good enough. And the defense, as you mentioned, they were good at times. But, boy, when they were on the road, they They really got torched at times. So for this season, there's actually a lot of good news. They're still a bit of a dark horse team, but they ended up 59th in the nation in passing the football. They bring back senior quarterback James Vandenberg. He was outstanding, over 3,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. And on offense, you had a team that averaged 234.8 yards passing and over 137 yards rushing. So they're balanced and potentially very potent. They also have junior running back Marcus Coker back. He topped 1,300 yards rushing last year, 15 touchdowns, 4.9 yards per carry. Now, the passing offense does lose their star wide receiver, Marvin McNutt. However, they have quite a bit of talent back, including senior wide receiver Keenan Davis, over 700 yards. And he's a local kid. They got tight end Zach Derby and some good young talent who the coaching staff is very high on, including Cavante Martin Manley, who had a good spring and played last season. There are three new starters on the offensive line. And keep this in mind, they do have some coaching changes, 2 new coaching changes, assistants for Ferenc. They brought in offensive coordinator Greg Davis. He's from Texas. He ran the Texas offenses that ran with Colt McCoy and Vince Young. So they're still a pro-style attack, but he's adding some multiple sets to it. And then the defense loses Norm Parker to retirement. He's been there for a long time. And Phil Parker, who has been an assistant the last 13 years, he steps in. So some new assistants for Ferenc. The defense has 6 total starters back. Very good defensive line, and James Morris and Christian Kirksey are 2 linebackers returning. And the thing to keep in mind, though, about Iowa, terrific team at home last season, 6-1 record. But boy, when they went on the road, they were 1-4 straight up and against the spread. Very erratic team. 2 of their road losses were really bad. They lost to in-state rival Iowa State, giving up 44 points. They were a 6-point favorite. And then one of the most embarrassing losses for the season by anybody. They were 16-point favorite at Minnesota, lost the game 22-21. And to put that in perspective, after that loss to Minnesota, they came home to play a very strong Michigan team. Were a home dog, yet they won the game with one of their best performances of the season, 24-16.
That's the look
so that's the thing about them. John, there's another one, yeah. And keep in mind that's why we make notes of these things. Yep. Absolutely. Iowa does play their first 5 games of the season at home. They don't play a road game till October 13th. That's Michigan State. So you really have to make notes that this team was shaky on the road last season, and you won't even get to see it until mid-October, however.
Good stuff. Again, this is our first college football preview of the new season. It'll be archived at the site, so you can go back and view this at any time. And we're going to cover all the major conferences. I think we'll probably even get to the minor conferences because you can make money betting on the Sun Belt too, you know. Next week we'll come back and do the other half of the Big Ten. Now, again, a reminder on these offers, and I know the football doesn't start for a while, but again, to me, you can't be a good football team unless you game plan properly. I don't think you can be a good football bettor or a good sports bettor unless you game plan properly as well. Put your game plan in motion now. Take advantage of these offers that are out there. One or all of them. Mine, preseason NFL, and my numbers in the NFL preseason the last few years are insane. They're that good. They're off the charts good. Preseason games of the year have been just basically an automatic. I think I've hit 7 of the last 8 on those. And just the overall numbers, awesome. Sign up now. $25, you get all my action plays for the entire preseason NFL. You'll also get the preseason game of the year included. That's 4 weeks for $6.25 a week. Are you kidding? $25 if you act now. 1-866-841-1665. Jeff, same thing with you. You won 2 out of 3 last year. Just absolutely blew it apart in the NFL preseason, and you're going to do it again.
Absolutely. 19-10, 66%. Won my game of the year. Won my games of the year in the preseason 5 out of the last 6 years. You get all 4 weeks of the preseason, just $19, including the game of the year. And you have to do it before August 1st, though. Just call LVSS at 1-866-575-8918 and get on board and make a lot of money.
And Jim has his early bird special as well, John. And as always, it's priced, excuse me, so that anybody can, this is the cool thing. If you sign up for Jeff's package or mine, or what the one John's going to tell you about with Jim, you don't have to be a big player to get in on this. This is set up so that all levels of player can get involved and make some money, right?
Yeah, the three of us can't wait for football. Jim Feist can't wait for football to start. And if you're watching this, you can't wait either. Jim Feist has an early bird preseason NFL football package. You get all 4 weeks of his executive service plays in August preseason, $29, and it's going to include his preseason game of the year, $29, 1-866-841-1655. But you got to sign up before August 1st.
Well, don't wait till August 1st. Sign up today. I'm serious. I know you can't get any football winners today, but you're going to have the confidence of knowing that you're already setting your wheels in motion for the new season. And that's the way to do it. It's just like, for those of you who are in business, you don't just show up in your store and say, well, let's figure out what we're going to do today. You set up promotions and things like that months in advance. That's how you operate a business. It's also how if you're treating your sports betting as a business, which you should. I mean, if you're just doing it for amusement, you're going to lose money. No big deal. I guess it doesn't matter. But if you're actually doing this to make money, you should treat it like a business, which means you don't do things in the spur of the moment. You look around, you size up what's possible, you take advantage of the thing that's just right for you, and put the wheels in motion now to have a successful campaign. So call the numbers, make some money. We'll be back next week with the second half of our Big Ten preview. For Jim Feist, for John Cranton, for Jeff Saad, I'm Dave Cokin. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great week.